Thank you for staying with us. Tonight on the governor's seat is Bomet County Governor Issac Rutto, also the chairman of the Council of Governors. Thank you for your time this evening. Let's begin with the push for the referendum, which was informed by clamor for more monies to the counties. With the passage of the CDF Act, counties are now destined to get more money. Does this mean that the push for referendum is a thing of the past?
No. CDF funds has nothing to do with what we are doing. We are doing a clearly defined program of actions as identified by the public through the CIDP and the development plan. Ours is a programmed way of doing things. CDF is fairly ad hoc. So CDF does not change the situation. We are asking for money to come to the counties to do the functions assigned to the counties by the Constitution under the 4th schedule.
Although initially you've been quoted as saying that you're going full force on Operation Pesa Mashinani. With the more than 40% that counties are now set to receive, isn't this settling part of the concerns that you had?
What we are asking are basically three issues. The first issue is that we are asking that we want the function of management and construction of infrastructure for primary schools and county secondary schools to be transferred to the counties. We have got children who are in class under a tree. We have got classrooms made of mud. We've got even classrooms made of skins. Children go to school in extremely shoddy areas, and they are now doing harambes and little things. There is no possibility of the national government dealing with primary schools. We are better off dealing with primary schools ourselves. The next thing we are asking for is that we want the 45%, which is in the budget this year, 45% of the resources, which is already in this year's budget, of last year's received accounts, audited accounts of last year, be transferred to the counties through a clear constitutional provision. The third thing is we are asking that we anchor Senate so that Senate can protect the counties and represent the counties appropriately, so that the last legislation, the House that does legislation with finality is the Senate. That is, they have got the last word on legislation affecting counties. We are not talking about legislation, national legislation and all other things. We are talking about legislation affecting counties. Because under Article 96, the Senate is supposed to protect both the counties and the county governments.
So we have not had the last on the push for the referendum. Obviously, there's still issues to be resolved there. Let's move on to the fact that most counties seem to have inherited trouble from defunct local authorities, and we're seeing cases arising such as a huge workforce, inefficient service delivery, and now some counties faced with strikes, workers' strikes. What's the way forward regarding this issue?
It's a very serious issue. First and foremost, it should be made very clear that the debts of the previous county councils and municipalities, in my view, are not debts and or liabilities of the county governments. The staff also are not really staff of the county governments, because county governments are creatures of the Constitution. We came into being on 3rd or on 4th of March this year. And staff who are in the former local authorities and all that, and also staff of the national government down there, are seconded to the county governments in the interim. But they will only become staff of those of those county governments as soon as they are brought on board by the various county service boards and assembly service boards. So before they are brought on board by these particular boards, they are not really staff of the county governments. The only thing is that they are automatically seconded via operation of law, Article 238 of the County Governments Act. But in my view, until they are absorbed, they are not necessarily employees of those counties. But it's good practice. It will be good practice if we bring them on board. But these are issues that should be handled by the national government. And the laws are very clear. Both the Transition County Governments Act, all the various laws are clear that this ought to be handled by the national government. What we are doing currently ourselves as county governments is to do staff rationalization, make our establishment, get it approved by the county service board, take it to the assembly for approval, and then we then engage staff in a proper manner so that the salaries are also in harmony. Right now, there's a difference between salaries of the national staff and salaries of the county assemblies and salaries of those we are employing. Yes.
And the clash between governors and central government staff, I think you touched briefly on that. We've seen cases of governors sacking central government staff. In your opinion, how should such scenarios be handled, as is the case in Machakos County recently?
We do not quite sack them, but we can surrender them to the national government or surrender them to the transition authority. It is the transition authority that sends us those staff. And we have had serious problems with the staff. In my county, one who was handling procurement made so many purchases in a haphazard manner without respect to the Procurement Act. And it will appear in the audit accounts that Bomet did not follow the procurement procedures. And yet these were transition authority staff. And when we start telling them, now keep off this job, we are told, don't touch them. And they are misusing funds. One of them even advertised in 3 dailies for 3 consecutive days, I don't know for what reason, a program. You know, advertising a program of an event, that at 8 o'clock there will be breakfast, at 10 o'clock there will be tea break, at I don't know, there are so many, so and so will be speaking until evening. What have Machakos got to do with such a function, which was being held in Nakuru? And he ended up committing and spending 1.6 million. He also spent more money, about 6 million again, on very questionable things. When we tell them now, keep off our kitty, we are told you are sacking national government staff. And you see, you got to stop it when it is happening.
Right.
You cannot wait until the money is consumed and then the Auditor General arrives 1.5 years later and then you are told there was a problem.
And let's talk about you, the man, Issac Rutto.
Yes.
Perception nationwide and indeed even in Bomet County that you're a troublemaker. Are you out to upstage William Ruto, as some pundits would assume that you are?
I don't understand what the troublemaker is. Secondly,
a troublemaker because you're vocal on some of these issues, issues that other governors have perhaps remained silent on.
I have to speak on behalf of the Council of Governors because I am the chair. And even in our the meeting we had yesterday, we reaffirmed that we have got those 3 issues to be resolved. And what I'm saying have nothing to do with William Ruto. William Ruto has been my friend for the last 10 years. I have had no reason to disagree with him. Secondly, we are not in competition for any office. And even if there were competitions, this is not the time for competition. Right now, what is happening now is that we want the counties to function. William Ruto is the deputy president in a Jubilee government in which I am a very strong member of such a party. And we did form Jubilee together. We formed URP together. William Ruto has been a friend for more than 15 years, ever since we joined parliament with him in 1997. And we've worked very well with him. I still expect that we will be able to work with him as we move on. The only difference in opinion is that I'm now saying that we want devolution implemented to the letter, and that there can be no half measures, and that some of the positions taken by the government and the transition authority do not agree with us. As far as I'm concerned, until those issues are resolved, they can't go away.
Let's talk about your priorities as Governor Bomet County. You are one of the counties that has a budget deficit. As we wind up, your priorities so that the people of Bomet County who are listening to you can look forward to seeing changes in the next coming years or even sooner.
Yes, we have a deficit, and in fact we have tried to plug that deficit. It is becoming really challenging because when we are supposed to pay the number of staff we have inherited from the national government and the ones from the county from the previous county councils and municipal councils, and the ones whom we must employ, because the County Governments Act has clearly indicated certain officers to be in place. When you lump up the entire salary structure and the operational expenses, because you don't just employ somebody, you also give him tools to function, we realize that we have got very little for development. Cited right now, I have only prioritized about 3 or 4 sectors. One, I'm going to start with, I still have to do roads because we can't get our markets, our produce to the markets unless we do roads. And Raya, through public participation, have insisted we must do roads. Whenever we talk to them, they tell us priority number 1 is the roads. Number 2 is water, health, agriculture. Then they mention cooperatives and
of course, as you mentioned, education.
Education and education. In fact, they told me 6. Yeah. But they are telling us, whenever we tell them we are not handling the education, they still insist we must do something about the primary schools and the day secondary schools. And they cannot understand when we tell them that it belongs to national government. They are telling us, you mean you are going to leave this? We find a lot of difficulty, and it's not just me. Today we were in Kasarani, and all the members of the county assemblies from all the 47 counties unanimously said primary schools and secondary schools are too critical for them to ignore. That every time they wake up, outside their houses are mamas with children. Some of them are deceased, their parents are deceased, orphans, some of them vulnerable children. And you can't do anything, a whole government there, and you cannot touch the children who are supposed to go to secondary schools, and they have no mother, no father. Right. What are we supposed to do? And you can't understand it when you're in Nairobi.
And just collectively, the perception that governors are troublemakers, they are all talk and no action as of now, and the people saying, please get down to business and let us see the results. As we wind up your parting shot.
Yeah, that is plenty of talk on their part. We are already
not
acting,
on your part.
Not on our part. We are already acting on the ground. Like these past 2 weeks, we started receiving the money yesterday, last week. And we have only again been given for salaries only. For development, they are yet to release. We are told there are some other things to be cleared. Up to now, we have not received development funds. So these are some of the difficulties we are facing. But I want to assure Kenyans that we've started receiving some money. And we believe we'll be able to get down to work now. But we've been working anyway, even before. Even as I'm here, you see, even as I talk, my executives are actually working. You don't expect the governor to be the one teaching in a nursery school.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for your time. We've been talking to Bomet County Governor Issac Rutto, also Chair of the Council of Governors. He's our guest on the governor's seat tonight. Keep watching. Don't go away.